All right, so we're going to take a look at Project 1. Project 1 is focused on line and the dynamics of line. If you're looking for a way to create excitement and energy in your work, line is the answer. So our first project is going to be 3 figures, or in this case 5, and I would, if you're going to use more than 3, do something like 5, or odd numbers of like objects typically work better in compositions. So what you're going to do is find 3 references of figures. I want them to be different sizes, different positions, different emotions. So you're looking to create a sense of variety in the work. And you're going to use line to move the eye from one figure to another figure, to the background and back, to the foreground. Again, using line as a way of generating excitement. And so, to that end, each one of these figures is going to connect to the other in some way. This one is connecting in a fairly conventional way, almost like simply overlapping one in front of the other, although there's a play on the sense of space because the smaller figures are in front of the larger figures, which is really interesting. And then, this artist has used the background to create even more line to move our eye and keep it happy. Here's another version where we've got, again, a very interesting, energetic quality of line that's moving the eye. Each one of these figures is connected to the other. It's, again, a little more expressive in terms of the character of the line. That's another thing that you really need to focus on, is the character of the lines that you're generating. Each different tool that you have can generate a different kind of line. There should be some variation in the weight of the line. The width should vary. Calligraphic lines that start thin and get thicker and then reduce again. All of these things are ways of using line to keep your viewer interested. Okay. And here's another. This one is typically what I'm asking you to do. This is a really good example of lines that connect one figure to another. Like you can see the lines of the hair of one figure, curving around to connect to the next figure in their line. And that hair comes up here and connects to this next figure. There's a network of lines that this artist is negotiating to keep our eye moving in a very fluid way through the composition. Again, you should have 3 different figures, at least 3 different sizes, 3 different characteristics, a variety of line styles and weights, and lengths and other measures. Now, in addition to what I'm showing you here, I want you guys to push your imagination and think about things that you can remove from a figure that might make it more thought-provoking. What if these figures had no mouths, right? What if they had no ears, no eyes? What if instead of hair they had plant life? You know what I mean? Push your imagination. All right, now, some of you may be freaking out, like, I'm not great at drawing, it's not my forte. Well, if you are great at drawing, great, impress me, go for it. but I still want you to find photographic references, and I want you to draw from what you see as best you can. It's okay to, take liberties, but it's always good to feed your eyes. Look at something as you're drawing. Don't just draw straight out of your imagination. Inform your eyes about what it is that you're making. So, if you're not very strong at drawing, get some tracing paper out, or just paper that's thin enough that you can see through it. Your Bristol board is thin enough if you hold it up to a window, so you can take a look at magazines, book illustrations, photographs. I prefer that you generate your own photographs, but if you need to go to the internet for a reference, you can do that. And again, if you're not very strong at drawing yet, I say yet, you can use some tracing paper and give yourself a little bit of help, right? You'll have to then take that image that you've transferred and embellish it and connect it to the other figures, right? And so in this sense, tracing paper can be a really beneficial tool to have in your toolbox. It's inexpensive. Get your hands on it. It can be a good planning tool for you. All right. So you're going to create this drawing with these connected lines. You're going to then take your other media and embellish it. Strengthen those lines. Maybe you're going to go for thick, dark outlines. They don't have to be black, but maybe you use India ink and you want to do your inking with that, and then you want to maybe embellish with some watercolor or some acrylic paint. Just watch your water media. On Bristol board, something that's too wet will warp it, and you can expect to have some warping. For those of you who are real perfectionists, you can investigate how do I keep my paper from warping. You can do what watercolor artists do and stretch it. Look up some instructions on how to do that. Easel painters will put gesso on both sides of a piece of paper, and that'll give it strength and keep it from warping as much. Anyway, part of this class is just investigating materials, right? Start looking for new materials to use. Something that you haven't used before, great, use it, right? The more you use materials, the better you are at your craft, right? Craftsmanship is knowledge and handling of materials, and if you haven't used materials, look at it as an opportunity, okay? So that's a little preview of Project 1. Take a look at that project handout for more details. But I've given you some visuals. I hope that'll help you kind of solidify what it is that we're trying to make. So good luck.